Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies, gentlemen, and dear friends. We are delighted to have you all with us today for Avenue 2020, a mission to enkindle the minds of students in diversified fields and motivate them to choose the course of their interest and caliber. Dear parents, please remember to fill in the feedback form that will be provided in the chat box at the close of the session. I am Saida Insha of Class 11C from Indian School Muscat, and it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome you all this beautiful evening. Today, we are privileged to have with us two eminent personalities, Professor Maya Dodd, the Assistant Dean, and Ms. Anju Jairaj, Senior Manager, Admissions Outreach from Flame University, who will discuss the courses available with them.
All right. Hi. Thank you so much. Oh, you're showing the video? Okay.
Over to you, madams, for your presentation.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know that it's a very tough time with so many sort of hours spent on the screen, and so I really appreciate you coming out for this. I would try to keep my sort of talk relevant and also, hopefully be able to answer a few questions at the end of this. Many of you might have heard of liberal arts colleges in the US, particularly, and it may surprise you maybe that the liberal style of teaching has been in India now for almost over a decade. In fact, it's Flame University that pioneered this style in the Indian context. And so I would like to sort of put in perspective the relevance of this style of education, not only for the 21st century, but really for what it is that, will prepare students to meet the challenges, that await us after this pandemic and beyond. So very simply, when asked sort of, this is actually, a survey that was conducted. I think you can see the screen. Um, the sort of skills that employers have been looking at, right, in terms of candidates who show up for jobs are surprisingly not the kinds of, sorry, I have a glitch. Sorry, 1 second. Huh? Sorry. I will have to log back in. I'll just have to do this. Yeah. Hi, I'm so sorry. I had a technical problem. Uh, Hello.
You're audible, ma'am.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Uh, so yes, just to sort of get back to where we were. So yeah, in looking at the question of, let me just share my screen. Sorry. Yeah, I think we're back. Are we back?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So yeah, as we were saying, in terms of the skills that employers are seeking, as well as what will sort of, create as, some people call it anti-fragile candidates, are these qualities. And many of these qualities are very different from what you can learn in a coding class, or a please learn some AI skills, learn some ML skills, right? So in every sense, there is a holistic vision of what a sort of person who is ready for a 21st century job needs to have. And the question is, how do we get those skills, and what is the sort of way in which we arrive at that position? So essentially, the answer that has been established for many decades now, just not just the past decade in India, but over time, is that there is a need to cultivate many of these qualities, and they're done through courses such as critical reasoning, communication skills, leadership skills, and the sense that you are actually understanding your sense of purpose, as well as gaining the confidence to really execute that purpose, is the cornerstone of a liberal education. At Flame, we really believe, and this has been for a while now, that you need to sort of figure out through a series of steps, through exposure, through a very intense mentoring process, your purpose. And so the way, and this sort of presentation will cover in that sense how we get there, and what is it that we seek to do to get students ready for the world. At Flame, this is a very simple sort of, sense of what we offer. There are schools in liberal education, in business, in communication, and in the fine and performing arts. Depending on which school, and this is not to say that you gain admission to separate schools, you all gain admission to Flame University, but depending on the program that you pursue, you will end up with a BA or a BSc or a BBA. And as you can understand, there's a wide variety of possibilities because of 22 majors and minors, which results in a very diverse set of combinations. And so this is what sort of finally gets you your degree at the end. But the most important point is that when you enter, you're actually sort of beginning from ground zero. And this ground zero entails us preparing you with a very strong foundation, which has academic writing, ethics, critical reasoning, public speaking, digital literacy, environmental thinking, mental models, and financial literacy as the bedrock of trying to create this sort of strong foundation from which you will build. Now, the sort of presumption is not that you know exactly, where you're headed, or that you have only one interest. You are essentially becoming a multidimensional person, and so we require your exploration across many disciplines. And this is divided into 5 different universes. So you have a universe, let's say, of humanities, social sciences, global studies, natural sciences, and performing arts. You might wonder, right? People who have very strong interests, whether it's in quantitative reasoning or whether it's in the sciences, why should they be doing all of this? Well, clearly, if we're trying to build a strong foundation, the idea is that you can look at a problem from many angles. To do that, you require exposure across disciplines. And these are not exhaustive or only, but they're indicative of what these different disciplines are like. There are some people who discover, after having never done science, right, for their high school, that they actually really love environmental studies. And the point is that our education system has divided subjects so strongly from each other that we're rarely allowed to sort of unite them again through our personal interest. So for that reason, there is a kind of let's begin again attitude to this sort of, way in which this is done. And so the range that you can sort of imagine makes every student's transcript different from each other. So one student might have done in the social sciences universes psychology, another might have done sociology, a third might have done economics, but they're all fulfilling in some sense the basic need to be exposed to that discipline, this domain. Similarly, in the humanities, somebody might do philosophy, somebody might do literature, right? Somebody might do history. And in every sense, the idea is that you have at least sampled what that is regardless of what your high school experience and such entailed. Similarly, with the sciences, we cover, applied mathematics, computer science, and environmental studies also, which kind of is more contemporary in terms of its orientation. A lot of students come in having done many years of Indian, let's say, Bharatnatyam or music and such, and they're encouraged really to sort of continue with those pursuits. A lot of them continue to have careers, in fact, in the arts, especially in Indian classical dance and such. So there's a lot going on in the fine and performing arts universe. As far as global studies goes, we have a wide range of languages, from Spanish, Urdu, French, German, Mandarin, Japanese. Occasionally, there has also been, I think, Sanskrit on offer. And, so there is a sense in which you are exploring further what perhaps your interest has been or what you've never had a chance to do. And the hope really is that you will go forward with, figuring out what your sort of loves are. Of course, this is also extremely helpful for higher education. So that means when people go on to, let's say, a master's in Germany or, a business degree in Spain, it really helps that they have had the chance to kind of study these languages earlier. So having said that, going with the fact that you're, starting from zero and this is your, sort of take two in a way, you can look at this chart that displays the range of major and minor offerings. So what we call a major is essentially what you get your degree in. So let's say I picked finance, I'll get a BBA in finance. If I picked applied mathematics, I'll get a BSc in mathematics. If I picked international studies, I'll get a BA in international studies. What this grid is to indicate really is what is it that you can do along with your major. So along with a major, you do something called a minor. So let's say I want to do a minor in design. My design minor is possible with these subjects, right? So looking at, this sort of grid where you go through pretty much actually all majors you can do a design minor in. Some are a little more restrictive, like you can't do literature and finance as of today, but there are mostly combinations that connect many, many dots. So the idea really is that you are allowed to not just explore, but to sort of marry together your interests and your, pursuits. So having and this, of course, you can look over at greater detail, depending upon what your interests are again. Now going into the sort of subject, courses, right? Now, let's say I want to do an interest. I see this is a little messy. I don't know why that is, but anyway. So let's say I'd like to do, a degree in psychology. The next question becomes, what are the subjects that would be possible for me to take up in that degree? So there are many, of course, and you can look at the website for further details, but it's a very wide range and it's a very contemporary offering of what is there in that domain. So in the case of psychology, for instance, there's social psychology, abnormal psychology, community, cognitive, and experimental psychology. Some of the other majors which may be unique or perhaps less familiar to many of you are the interdisciplinary majors. So things like international studies, where you will, let's say, study everything from Chinese politics to the geopolitics of West Asia, right? This kind of offering is extremely unique to a liberal curriculum. And the reason we offer it is because we understand that we want to create students who can completely appreciate a problem from many different angles. So that requires not just a disciplinary orientation, but an interdisciplinary orientation. And so you'll appreciate the need for, that range of courses. Similarly, for instance, literary and cultural studies, is a very unique offering, unlike a simple English, for instance, offering. In this major, you have everything from cinema to gender, iconography, art history, and more. So there is a sense that, to really appreciate the span of knowledge that exists, we are doing our level best to sort of not just offer a range of courses, but to keep them contemporary and to have them also be rooted in an Indian, kind of frame. So essentially, when you're beginning, as I mentioned, you're encouraged to explore. You're exposed to at least a few courses in each of the universes of knowledge. As I mentioned, they are humanities, social sciences, sciences, global studies, and the arts. And once you've sort of had that exposure, by the second year, the idea is that you will now elect a major, right? And this means that you will sort of identify your focus area of study, and you are taking a wide number of courses within that area of study along with a minor, right? Some people declare an open minor, but essentially the idea is that if you can combine sort of your interests, you can really basically be doing two things. By the third year, you would have kind of arrived at the requisite number of credits for your degree. And a lot of programs, especially abroad, require sometimes 4 years. In fact, the new education policy says that if you finish a 4-year undergraduate degree, you are directly eligible to enter a PhD program. So clearly, this fourth year is quite sort of beneficial for people looking at a research career or a graduate sort of school admission. And that's optional and it exists. So for those who would like to sort of top up their 3 years with that fourth, that is very clearly inbuilt in the curriculum. What we're basically doing in that often is, a thesis and, stuff like that. So essentially, sort of to get back to, what that was. Okay, now, the other thing that makes liberal education different from most sort of typical, let's say engineering courses, college education in a general sense, is the idea of a mentor. It sounds very antiquated. I mean, even the word Guru Shishya has this sort of echo of, antiquity. But the truth is that the difference between a good college and a great college is who is holding your hand and helping you navigate the world. And so this comes really through student faculty ratios, which are tiny and more cozy. That means smaller class sizes where you get to sort of be more, comfortable in even asking questions and such, through the one-on-one, right, discussions that you have with faculty. Of course, through, well-being sort of interests, we have a very good counseling team on campus to take care of mental health issues also. And also through the connecting you to the world, right? And I'm sort of saying this, in a very broad sense, but really it is the ingredient that makes liberal education different, right, from faculty, from the commitment of faculty in this place. And it's something that you will not actually find as common in many, many places. The mentoring also often translates into a kind of hand-holding for research. And research is what is going to be the cornerstone of knowledge economies going forward. We require, not just hand-holding in the sort of initial stages, but really the ability to understand how to solve a problem, how to sort of conduct an effective literature review, how to properly use resources which are out there, not to mention funding, right? So that facet is very, very focused on in the liberal system. And so there is a need to mentor, not just for the sake of mentoring, but really to also produce fantastic outcomes. The support that is exerted is not just through faculty, but also through specific, services offered through the writing center. So this is to help people ideate, execute an essay, understand citation and research. Since a lot of liberal sort of subjects have deep, writing components. The Q Center is a new addition. It's the quantitative center. And so much of now the knowledge economy is based on quantitative techniques that the need to not just assist students, but to sort of have them master, whether it's a new software or, need a little bit of help maybe in understanding something, comes through the quantitative center. The Center for Teaching and Learning is focused on pedagogy, and our job is to sort of supply students with a research infrastructure and also faculty with upskilling, right, for all kinds of technical and digital upgrade. That is sort of in terms of giving the scaffolding that is required for a good educational purpose. But in addition to that is also the network that any university brings and faculty also bring. There is a huge emphasis on student exchange and study abroad opportunities. People in the past used to think that you have to choose between a college in India and a college abroad. What they don't realize often is that colleges in India have connections to those in the West in many, many countries. So if you come to Flame, and I'll show you a map in a minute, you'll be able to also do a semester abroad, let's say at Wellesley or Yale or Amherst or any sort of college that we have a partnership with. We, of course, have a very, again, wide network of speakers who get invited and, the ability to interact with not just, faculty on campus, but also mentors in the outside world. That happens often through this possibility. As I mentioned earlier, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened to this map, but you can see the the names of universities that there are tie-ups with. There is in Canada, the University of British Columbia, York University, King's College. In the US, for specific programs, right? There are the tie-ups have been done with this understanding that people at Flame do a variety of majors. So if you've done, let's say, entrepreneurship, Babson is a great school to sort of do a semester abroad at. If you've done, let's say, finance, right? The Kelly School of Business is superb. And there are many others such around the world. For instance, digital marketing is very good at IE University. There are certain other sort of international studies. Sciences Po in France is really excellent and such. So there are many opportunities that exist for such kinds of, exchanges and experience. We also have associations with other not just universities, but sort of experiences. So there is a laboratory called the Wage Indicator Foundation, and this actually is out of the Netherlands, but many students intern with them at Flame, and they're essentially looking at the question of a living wage and how much income is being made across the world. It's a fantastic internship because you get real world experience and it's a great line on your CV. Thought leadership is also something that comes naturally with the turf. When you're talking about a very kind of contemporary and very, sort of thoughtful, right? In that sense, we are very aware of our location in both history as well as in terms of our, the significance of us in India. So obviously there is a sense in which the speakers and the kind of faculty are really questioning many of the sort of hot topics of our time. So the events often reflect that. As I mentioned earlier, the campus itself is quite wonderful, and you can look at some of these pictures. I'm sorry to make you sort of throw something at you when I know we're all indoors and it's very difficult sometimes. But in any case, the campus remains, and it's a beautiful, very natural, great weather for most of the year place. So in every sense, it's actually a wonderful, institution to actually be in. These are some pictures. This is the library. This is the cricket ground. I think, yeah, this is the Cone, the lake, and this is a drone shot of many of the buildings. So it's a very, there are many sort of small nooks and spaces where students cuddle up to read a book, to do their group work, to just sometimes, like take a nap in the afternoon. And it's important, I think, that the space support that kind of interest. In addition to the space, of course, there is the human infrastructure. And here we see all kinds of, whether it's the student festival, TEDx, there's the sort of Model United Nations stuff. There's the Center for Entrepreneurship, the all kinds of competitions and things. And the real deal is that the diversity of the student body, I think, makes us very excited as teachers and as a big community, where we have literally students from over 100 cities and over 10 countries. It's a truly sort of diverse, and not just the namesake sense, but people challenge each other, right, because of that aspect of things. So it matters that the experience is what it is. And as I mentioned, the mentorship also lends itself very well to something called experiential learning. I'll get to that in a minute in terms of what is expected of students in that sense, and also the fact that we are interested in joining the dots across different not just subjects but different experiences. So very simply, when you enter college, right, in the first year, you're just getting your feet wet, you're understanding the lay of the land. And one of the things that we do in terms of immersing you in that domain is to have this thing called the Development Activities Program, where at the end of your first year, you actually intern with an NGO for about 2 months. It sounds intense, and it is intense, but really it's the sort of not just the idea of work, but it's work within a social context. Where in India, it's a tough place in many ways. It requires, I think, a different conscience in terms of how you respond to your environment. And so this is part of how we get students to really, be sensitive and listen really to where they're at. In the second year, there is this need to not just sort of theoretically talk about this, but have a very specifically immersive experience in the history and cultural aspects of India. So there is a program called the Discover India program, where students work in teams to understand a particular problem with regards to the sort of cultural aspect of India, but it's done through fieldwork. Now, fieldwork is a very anthropologically specific, thing, and the truth is that students call this experience life-changing. They often are sort of at the end of their tether when they're doing it, but it is life-changing because you're doing something in the world, and it's not just a formal kind of a work excuse. It's actually, trying to understand something that is a lived experience. So that really matters to us. So the focus on research and interdisciplinarity also comes into play here. The world of work is obviously important, right? When students graduate, they need to be ready for that. So we do have an internship program for their professional lives, and that's the summer internship program where, depending upon the major of the student, they will intern in whether it's a think tank or industry or business or, different sort of things. So all of these are very much part of the curriculum. They're for credit. And we really believe that they prepare students not just for a degree, but for life, which is really the goal, right? The goal of liberal education is learning for life. And for that reason, it matters to us not just what we teach, but whether or not there's a certain attitude that's being inculcated, whether a certain, cultural logic is being understood. And all of those are the reasons why we have also value-added courses, which in the range of technology and society or teamwork and professional skills are part of this entire story. The goal, of course, is that at the end of this, we produce students who have a sense of humility, reflection, sensitivity and responsibility, and who can engage with the world, through a commitment and also deep thought. So the idea is not just to sort of, have these as buzzwords, but really to produce a curriculum that gets people to do this at the end of it. In terms of pathways also, I mean, a lot of us get asked these questions about what careers do students get when they graduate. And the answer to that question is, well, they get jobs that we didn't even know existed. And the reason is because the world is changing so much, what we're preparing them for and where the world is going, there is just no way to match the speed, right, of how quickly and dynamically things are changing. But the strong fundamentals that kids have prepares them really for all these different aspects of the world of work. So as you can see, even in disciplines, right, there are so many kind of intersections that exist across areas of study that it's not a simple thing to say I majored in psychology, right? Psychology can get you a job in advertising. It can get you, thinking about consumer behavior and marketing. So there is a sense that all the dots actually do join. Similarly, as I mentioned, in terms of pathways, this is just a list of where all students have taken up, in different sort of sectors, jobs and degrees and such. And it's as wide as the world is, honestly, with, that many majors and minors. There isn't one single endpoint. Very, very sort of to the point, reasons to join Flame. Well, of course, campus, very, very, engaged and committed faculty, great location. I would say the experiential learning and the mentorship really that come with all of this are the real sort of goal, in terms of what we strive to offer. But of course, you should sort of have a look at what students say. So I'll just leave this there for a minute for people to see, what the comments are. So as you can see, somebody's talking about exchange in Wellesley, someone's talking about the software, someone's saying that they went on to do a master's in clinical psychology or environmental studies. People remember different things about it, but the good news, I think, is that there is something for everyone in terms of that experience. Yeah. And so going forward, as we mentioned, there are, the student faculty ratio is really, kind of unique. The combinations are very, very extensive, right? 300 is a lot of choices. There's a lot of student clubs. Sports is also a really big deal at Flame because of the facilities that exist. We're actually proximate to a golf course, and one of the biggest student festivals actually centers around sports called Kurukshetra. So the size of the campus and the facilities that are available is kind of ideal, given the weather, especially that we have, for students who are already, let's say, keen on certain kinds of pursuits to continue that on campus. And as I mentioned, the diversity at this place is really something else. So in terms of admissions, there are links on the website also that you can look at. But I know the one question that we get asked a lot is, how do you make a decision if you are looking at such a wide variety of subjects and factoring in sports and extracurriculars? what is the sort of filtering mechanisms, right, for admissions. So we have an online process, which of course, where your academics are tested in the sense that they're very basic kind of general knowledge things. At a certain level, you have a quantitative level that you've attained or an essay writing ability. But really, more than that, it's also the fact that we interview students. We have, a complete sort of balancing out of looking at their total achievement, not just academic achievement. And this is where the process is looking for the person, not the mark. And I think that is something that liberal, sort of based philosophy will have to look for, because you will not get the kinds of diversity and the kinds of students you want if you didn't do it that way. We also have a very robust financial aid program. And I don't know the numbers exactly, but I know a huge percentage of students are offered based on merit, financial merit scholarships and such. So this is really about rewarding those who I think, in many ways need to be acknowledged for what they do, but also sort of saying that, this is a tough place and you've got to keep up your GPA to keep up with that scholarship. So it's not just that simple in terms of the entry point. This is very simply the fee structure. It's always subject to change depending upon different features. I think this year, because of the pandemic, boarding and lodging has not been calculated and such. And finally, these are the ways in which you can get more information about the university and its social media. So I am very happy to take questions now after that. Thank you.
That was quite an impressive presentation. Now let's move on to the queries from our audience. The first question, would you help in getting into foreign universities for master's program?
Oh yeah, I mean, in the sense, a big portion of our students go on for a master's abroad, and it's only after your undergraduate do you realize what you want to specialize in. So people who, let's say, are often surprisingly kind of realize that, wait, I really want to do not just this sort of thing, not just psychology, but clinical psychology or specifically entrepreneurship or something, right? It's the realization that I think propels them to find the program of their choice. But obviously, we are, happy to, in every sense, write letters of recommendation. There's a very strong, again, support process at Flame for helping people apply. So it's not like, it's something that we're totally leaving to chance or individual interest. We actually support that through a full kind of setup.
Thank you, ma'am. Another query, are you offering a BA in psychology or a BSc in psychology?
It is a BA in psychology, yes.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another question. If we do interdisciplinary bachelor's, do we have options for master's programs in India in these subjects?
Yeah, now this is a really good question, actually. See, the thing about interdisciplinary is that, let's say it's international studies, what it actually ends up doing is letting you super specialize or subspecialize depending on your interests. So you could go on to do a political science degree, you could go on to do a policy degree. It's really a function of the student's interest. But I can tell you, like, for instance, with literary and cultural studies, we've had students who've done a master's in everything from cultural anthropology, education and policy, pure literature, South Asian studies, migration. I mean, there's been such a, you can never predict where that person will land. But whether these programs exist in India or not is a really great sort of query, because they do. I mean, it's surprising perhaps to many, but education has undergone such a transformation, right, in the past 10 years, that interdisciplinary offerings are pretty much, in many sort of public universities, in addition to, of course, private. And there are often, integrated programs also. So I think in the years to come, we're going to see a lot more of this, but they do exist, and they exist across the spectrum, public and private.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another query. Do you have different campuses?
No, we just have one residential campus in Pune. Yeah.
We have another question. Is archaeology course available?
Yes. So we do have, okay, so it's not what is called a specialization, but it is a course to the degree that you can sample what the offerings are. And then maybe if you took literary and cultural studies, you could go on to do a master's in archaeology. So, it's not, there are many bridges. I mean, people, I think a lot of parents and, sort of academics from the past don't realize this, but there are many multiple paths to different destinations. There's not just one straight path. So, yeah.
Okay, ma'am. We have another query. How do you specifically distinguish social science and humanities, which are more or less similar?
Okay. I know that at the school level, it's talked about differently. At the college level, I'll tell you, it's a difference of method. So humanities subjects are distinguished by textual approaches. So history, philosophy, religious studies, they've all basically focused on the text as being the medium of how knowledge has been passed down. If you look at the social sciences, you're talking about psychology, economics, sociology, that follows what's called an empirical method. So an empirical method, much like the scientific, and that's why they call the social sciences, look to essentially prove the verifiability of something, right? So if something is falsifiable, it's a science. And so the idea that you can test it through an empirical study, a survey, those kinds of methods makes it a social science. The humanities are focused on a textual, approach to knowledge. So that's the basic difference, and the subjects get divided accordingly. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Another query. How well is the computer science course developed?
Yeah, so the computer science course is an honors program. It's extremely intensive. You cannot do a minor with computer science. We've had our first batch start this year, and I can tell you the faculty is ace. There's a lot of, there's a very extensive team from senior to cutting edge, who are seasoned as well as very, very sort of, in the middle of whatever, engaging, all kinds of new technologies that are collectively offering this course, so this major. So I think there's the best of all worlds, in terms of that feature.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to the next query. Can we opt for a psychology or any other subject as a major if we have not done it in high school or have taken the science stream in high school?
Thank you so much for asking this question. Not only is this true of psychology, the answer is yes, but it's true of all subjects. As I mentioned, you're really starting from ground zero. And the idea is that just because you did maths or didn't do maths or did science or didn't do science, that you should be debarred, from even trying, is not at all the idea. There's a course actually even called pre-calculus. So people who've not done calculus, right, are like kind of, they're step laddering the way to figuring out, for instance, if they can get to a programming course, right? And there's a sense in which we're giving everyone the chance to start again, by which I mean find your real interest, not what you were told in school you're good or bad at. So, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Do you provide a course on interior design or any related courses?
Sorry, no.
Thank you, ma'am. What job opportunities do we have if we study psychology major?
Oh, yeah. No, I think there's a ton of opportunities. We live in a time when I think mental health challenges are finally being spoken of. And it's important, in a way that it's never been acknowledged, maybe, but it's very, very, it's a growing field. And I think students also realize that they have a lot to offer. So whether you go for higher studies, whether you join as a counselor in a school or college, or start your own practice, right, after a certain point, there's a lot of different things people are pursuing. So, and there's also stuff like, education, even ed tech, right? Education technology requires a lot of, for instance, people to do psychological testing. Education psychology is a really big field. So there's a lot of stuff, I think, that would please, many kinds of interests. So, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Another query. What is the percentage needed for 12th to get into BBA?
So, this is not like, how you have Delhi University sort of cutoffs, right? It doesn't work that way. As I mentioned, the admission process is pretty holistic. It requires a combination of interview, what are your extracurriculars, all kinds of other things. And so the score you get in your 10th or 12th is only one indicator of your eligibility really to the program. So yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question. Do you offer any course on video editing or any animation courses?
So yes, you have a film and television specialization, and that's in the School of Communication. A lot of students do film. We have a really large number of alumni who are in Bollywood and such also in different capacities. Animation exists in the design minor, but also I think there are many courses where we require you to, let's say, make a video essay or a podcast or whatever. And so depending upon the format you choose, you can choose to animate or learn that also along with the other stuff.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. Do you give weightage for co-curricular activities like sports, arts, or MUN?
Yes, indeed. Very, it's significant. We really want athletes, musicians, poets, artists, filmmakers. So extracurriculars really matters to us. That's what makes a really joyous campus community also. So it's not just incidental, it's very integral to how we are looking for talent. Yeah.
Next question. Do you keep a minimum number of students in order to offer a particular subject?
I think there is a threshold of 5 is the way it goes for registration for that course. Yeah.
Also, ma'am, could you throw some more light on the fee structures?
Yes. So this is an unusual year. It's a pandemic. People are not really on campus, including us. Faculty are also not on campus. As I told you, students are from over 100 cities. So it's really quite challenging to imagine what it would take to get everybody to campus. So this year, as I understand it, boarding, lodging, etc., is not being talked of in the total. I the numbers do change from year to year, so I think you would best visit the website to keep up with the latest figures. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another query. Are there any big events happening annually?
Yes, there are conferences. There are, as I mentioned, student life is a whole different story, and student life has their own events and all kinds of intercollegiate activities and such. In terms of academically, there is at least something a day in terms of talks and whatnot. We also have hosted big conferences. You can have a look at that link, and it's there is something for everyone, no question about it. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Another query. How many students get admission every year?
This is a little bit of a state secret, but I can tell you that it is competitive. It is not easy, which is not to say one shouldn't try, because as I mentioned, you're looking at the big picture, it's holistic. But India being what it is, the numbers being what they are, we get a very healthy number of applicants. So we are lucky that we also get to choose, in many ways the best. But for us, the best is not only the smartest, the best is a combination of different kinds of excellence. So, this incoming batch is about, I think, 450 students this year. Yeah. And it changes every year again. So, yeah, but it is competitive. I will give you that. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Can we visit the university campus before applying for admission?
Yes, you can if there wasn't a pandemic going on. So just this time it's a bit weird, but absolutely otherwise, yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another query. When to apply to FAME University for admission?
So it's a rolling admission in the sense that you go to the website, you figure out the form and whatnot. And because we're all doing everything online, it's like a scheduled interview that will happen. So it's goes on from, I think, now till summer, pretty much anytime, you can, yeah.
Moving on to the next question. How do I apply? Could you please elaborate the application process?
Yeah. There's a lot of information on the website. It's really a very straightforward process. You apply, you go to there's a portal, you go into the link, and there'll be a series of documents and whatnot that you got to upload. So if you can just have a look at this link I'm sending, you'll find all the relevant, details there.
Moving on to the next question. Could you please give me details on any essay component of the admission process?
Yes. So the admissions test is online. It's not scary. It's extremely normal for what level 12th grade students are at. The test has it has quantitative questions, it has comprehension questions, but it also has an essay, which is an on the spot essay. So basically there'll be a range of topics, nothing too scary, but like will robots, what do you think about robots versus humans, or whatever it might be. And the idea is that we're just getting to get a sense of how you think, more than even how you write, it's how you think. So the essay is not about privileging your language skills, but really just your ability to compose a thought. And it is part of the entrance writing, the entrance test. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. I'm still doing my 12th grade, so can we use our predicted scores for admission?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Also, does the university provide any scholarships?
Yes, very much. As I mentioned, it's a very healthy scholarship fund. It goes on the basis of merit and need. You have to maintain a certain GPA to uphold your scholarship. So the idea is not that you come in and you're just given a free ride, but it's really it's very generous, and it's thinking about the fact that we would not want people to be financially burdened, right, to get this sort of education. So the idea that you're a deserving student and we need to give the kind of support we can is very much at the top of our mind. So you just have to apply, and when you apply with your application, that sort of is part of, we're considering you on the basis of first merit, but then also based on need. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. Any campus selections available at Flame University?
Sorry, campus connections.
Selections.
Oh, placement. Okay, yes. There is a placement office, and yes, you get prospective employers come to do interviews and stuff on campus. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Also, could you please show this slide showing the different programs offered?
Different programs offered in the sense of what degrees? I think I'll just, in fact, let me just pull up the website, because that's more permanent for most people. If you don't mind me sharing my screen, I'll just do that for a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah. So this is it. As I mentioned, these are what are called the majors and minors, right? There's everything from advertising, communication, design. This is alphabetical actually, but in terms of, for instance, in terms of a science degree, there is applied mathematics, computer science, right? And in honors degrees, there's economics and computer science are both honors degrees. In the arts, for instance, there's literary and cultural studies. There is also minors in dance and music, in addition to design. In the case of business, there is advertising, there is human HR operations, uh, digital marketing, entrepreneurship, finance, marketing, and such. So, depending upon, as we said, your interest, the idea would be that you choose a major, and then from within the same set, you can choose a minor. So, that's the idea. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question. Are there any courses on product designing or any agricultural courses available?
Not agriculture, I don't know, but design is a minor, and in design, I think you can pick everything from UI, UX to whatever. So I'm not very sure what the courses are, but design exists, yes, as a minor. But it's not like there's like, automobile design or interior design. Those are very different sorts of courses. This is more like, what would be in a design school, right? Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question. Do you have NRI quota?
Well, we don't really have quotas, but we do have a lot of NRI students. So if people were to, apply, they could do so. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Could you please tell us about the NRI fee structure?
Vakya,
Ma'am, do you want me to take that?
Yes, please.
All
Yes.
right. Yes. Thank you so very much. I'm really sorry we had to join a little late. I think there were some issues on the technical part of it. So, coming to answer that respective question with respect to the NRI admissions, since I understand that we are talking to all the students from Muscat. So, with respect to NRI, as in, we do not have any specific differentiation with respect to the admission process or with the fee structure. It still remains the same. So, for the next year of admissions, if you're looking at it, we would be the complete school fee, including the tuition, the boarding, and the lodging, would come around to 8,65,000 rupees per annum. That's in Indian rupees. If the COVID pandemic obviously keeps continuing, then we will obviously not consider the boarding and the lodging. We will only be taking in the tuition fee, which would be about 6,35,000 per annum. So that will remain constant for any kind of a student. It can be an NRI student or an Indian student. It remains the same.
Thank you, ma'am. We have another question. Could you please give us more details on accommodation, especially for NRI students?
Sure. Ma'am, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, the accommodation is fantastic for all students, not just NRI. So in every way, the idea is that the facilities are top notch, right? There's air conditioning. It's not like a dorm. They're more like apartments, and they're also single rooms. So for all those reasons, it's a function of your preference. I think that you can select the kind of accommodation you would like. Yeah. So
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. If this situation persists, will you offer any online classes?
In fact, we are all online. I mean, I think all schools around the world really are, dealing with this challenge. We are running our semesters, our terms as if nothing has happened. It's just that it's on Zoom, right? And things are what they are. I know students are dying to be back on campus, but we got to consider the safety of all. So until such time as it's really, really safe, we would rather do it this way. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, we have another query. How do you carry out assessments or evaluation?
In live, okay, online or otherwise, it just and okay. uh, we have what's called continuous assessment, so you don't just get like one fat exam at the end of the semester, right? You're constantly being asked to do certain things to show that you've understood. And even with online stuff, right, there's a lot of kind of creative and not just quizzes and exams. So the idea really is that we need you to demonstrate the learning outcome that we desired from the course, and that happens gradually, continuously, and in many, many ways, not just in terms of memorization or rote learning. So we are, yeah, very keen to show that, understand that you've understood. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to the next query. Any group discussion or interview for admission?
Yes, we
There
do
used to
have.
be group discussion, no longer. I think that was for business school, and even so now it's become like a video upload, sort of thing, right, Vakya?
Yes, if I might answer that
Yes.
question. So the admission process constitutes of three different sections. We obviously test you on the entrance exam, which is basically a testing on your aptitude skills with respect to quants, English, your reasoning skills, and on basic general knowledge. Because as Maya ma'am has rightly mentioned, we do look at holistic approach. Considering sports to extracurriculars is a part of your regular day at Flame. We're not only going to talk to you about your academics. So it's a complete holistic approach at the end of the day. So we do test you on that along with the entrance exam. We also accept the SAT or the ACT scores in case any student has taken that, they can certainly give us those scores too. Along with that, we have an online essay, which is a topic would be given, a contemporary or a generic topic would be given to the student. A set amount of time is given to the student to write about that respective topic, and then they will also have a one-way video interview, which basically will be a set of recorded questions that the computer is going to shoot across to the student. You are given a set amount of time to decide on what to answer, and then another set amount of time to record that respective answer and submit it to the computer. So it's overall about a 3-hour process that's being conducted on one single day. There is a set of dates given on the admission calendar on our website. I'll just share that link also on the chat box for your easy reference.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question. Are there any integrated courses offered?
Not now. I mean, we have an honors in computer science, so that would qualify as a 4 year. Because of the number of credits, it would equal a 4 year course of study. But there is no master's attached to an undergraduate at this point. The 4th year is optional, though. If you'd like to do the 4th year, that would entail then you doing a thesis and such. So that's also very good research experience.
Another question. Do you have any connection or tie-up with other Indian universities to help us continue our masters?
Not really in India. The way it works at the masters is you have to do an entrance or whatever exam again. So it's not a direct jump from undergrad to masters. It doesn't work that way. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, ma'am. The final question for the session. Are there any courses in artificial intelligence?
In the computer science honors program, yes.
Thank you, madams, for the informative presentation.
Thank you.
Yes,
Sorry for that glitch.
In fact,
Yes.
In fact, if you could just give me 1 minute, I would like to, kind of say thank you and also reintroduce the speaker for today. Professor Maya has been extremely, I would like to take a special vote of thanks to just say thank you to Professor Maya for giving such an insightful introduction to liberal education and to Flame University. I mean, she is the assistant dean, of teaching and engagement and learning at Flame University. She's probably been with Flame probably since the first inception, maybe, from the time the first stone of Flame was laid, probably she was there with us. So that's her. I mean, thank you so very much, Maya ma'am, for giving us this insightful lecture, or I wouldn't want to term it as a lecture because it's an insightful presentation, I would probably say, to delve about India. And because we do understand a lot of students are looking at different opportunities, because we do have a lot of students coming in from different countries, thanks and no thanks to all this current pandemic. Everybody's actually looking at the roots or the cultural roots to come back to places where they've already started from. So we would love to, extend a warm welcome to all the students attending the sessions today, and also many more viewing us over YouTube and other live channels. Thank you so much again for coming and joining us. Hopefully we have
I think Vakya is frozen, is it? No, you're back.
All the questions that you have had with respect to Flame and with respect to any kind of Right. So again, as I said, I mean, one more since of the Indian group of schools of Muscat, and also to Dr. B coordinators. Thank you so very much for giving us the city to have a beautiful interaction with all your students. We've had lovely participation. The kind of questions kind of did mention that people were engaged in the conversation that Professor Maya was doing. What the kind of questions that we have written. We did share our email ID for any kind of a contact that you can certainly get connected to us. And looking forward to see most of you guys in India, in our Flame campus sometime in the near future, after the pandemic gets over and we all come back to the original, not new norm, which is virtual. So thank you again so much, guys, and stay safe. Good night.
Thank you so much, madams.
All right. Good night. Yeah. Bye.
Good night to you too. Dear parents, kindly remember to fill in the feedback form that is posted in the chat box. As we come to the end of a wonderful session, I would like to express our gratitude to each and everyone behind the grand success of this session. First and foremost, I express our profound gratitude to His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq for his great vision, leadership, and benevolence. May the Almighty bless His Majesty and this beautiful nation with peace and prosperity. On behalf of Indian School Muscat, the organizing team, and the entire audience, we extend a very hearty vote of thanks to our speakers, Professor Maya Dodd and Ms. Anju Jairaj. We sincerely appreciate the time and efforts you took to share with us the courses you offer. Wholeheartedly, I thank Honorable Chairman, Board of Directors, Indian Schools in the Sultanate of Oman, Dr. Baby Sam Samuel, and honorable members on the board. Mr. Ajay Kumar J, President, Indian School Muscat Management Committee, esteemed members of Indian School Muscat Management Committee, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Rajiv Kumar Chauhan, Presidents and esteemed members of all Indian School Management Committees in the Sultanate of Oman, respected principals, vice principals, assistant vice principals, supervisors, coordinators, heads of departments, and teachers for their support and guidance for organizing such an event. Thank you all for motivating and encouraging all of us. I also thank all the students and parents for being with us today and for your active participation during the entire program. Signing off is Saida Insha of Class 11C, Indian School Muscat. Thank you all once again. Wishing you all success in your future endeavors. Stay safe.